thank you for joining our joint webinar between Njevity and Cavallo. This one is Smarter Inventory in GP, so tips and tricks within GP, and then some SalesPad insights. I am your hostess today, Wendy Epperson. I'm the account manager here at Njevity. I've been supporting GP for about 30 years now, so any inventory questions you can come up with, feel free to ask. And I'm going to start the webinar the way they say you're not supposed to, which is with a brief apology. I have had this cough for about a week, so I'm going to try and get through my stuff really quickly so y'all don't have to listen to me cough. And then I'm going to turn it over to my co-presenter, Michael DeFazio, who's a sales engineer at Cavallo, and he's going to show us the cool stuff that Cavallo can add to your GP inventory. And with that, we always like to start with the mission of Njevity. And our mission is to improve the life and success of our customers and partners by providing exceptional business application experiences that simplify, inform, and delight. Today, we're going to lean towards the inform side a little bit, but with what we're showing you, hopefully that'll help simplify your GP life as well. A little bit about Njevity. So we are a partner. We can sell and support GP, and we do. That is our primary focus of our business. We are also the creators of Power GP Online, which is our hosted GP offering. If you are in our cloud, in our Power GP Online cloud, there are additional features and functionalities that you get to go on top of GP for free. There's a banking import, there's an import. We do webinars about once every 2 or 3 months to show all those features. So if you've not seen those, keep an eye on our webinar schedule. We'll have another one coming up in the next couple of months where you get a good overview of all the free stuff you get by being in our Power GP Online cloud. And we are the founding members of the Knights of GP. So the Knights of GP is a co-op for customers and committed ISVs. And it is a way to continue using GP once Microsoft has ended their support. So you may have heard, depending on who you've heard it from, there is communications in the world today that tell you GP support is ending and GP is being sunset, which is not true. GP is not being sunset. The support that you get from Microsoft is being stopped, which most people don't call Microsoft for support anyhow. But that support does include payroll updates and service packs and things like that. And what we're going to do with the Knights of GP is build a group of people who keep that going so that you will be able to get payroll updates, you'll be able to get new features, security updates, things like that. So there's going to be a group of us. It's still in its infancy. We're still building out the Knights of GP. But if you want more information about it, you can scan that QR code, or you can just visit theknightsofgp.com and sign up for a newsletter. They'll keep you posted on that. The general idea of the Knights of GP is this. So Microsoft is going to stop doing product support and enhancements in 2029. They're going to keep doing security updates through 2031, but the Knights of GP are going to pick up in that time frame and start delivering those same features, functions, payroll, tax updates, etc. So again, theknightsofgp.com if you'd like to sign up to stay in the mix on that. And with that, let's let SalesPad introduce themselves a little bit. Oh, wait a minute, I need to unmute Michael so he can actually talk. There we go. Okay, Michael.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. We appreciate you being here today. I'll just give a quick introduction of myself here. My name is Michael DeFazio. I've been with Cavallo for 9 years now. A lot of those years spent in the professional services department, which handles consulting and implementation and customizations of our software. So I spent a long time doing that, and more recently transitioned internally to the solutions engineer team here, and have been enjoying this aspect of my career as well. You can see there our ROI in that slideshow. We take a lot of pride in this. We make our customers' businesses immensely more profitable, competitive, and valuable. This ROI is something every employee here at Cavallo knows and can say whenever they're asked to anyone on the team. And again, it's something that we strive to achieve every day here, and we take a lot of pride in it. Next slide here, Cavallo history, founded in 2003, as you see there. So we've been doing this for quite some time now. Over 1,050 plus distributors served, over 100 million plus value created. That's between our different software platforms. We have several of them. Today we'll be focusing on our SalesPad Inventory Manager product, but we have other pieces of software as well. Again, it's something we've been at for a long time there, and we're continuing to grow here each year, and we hope to continue that. As you see there, there's some percentages, which again we take very seriously. We take a lot of pride in. We have a 92% retention rate and a 95 NPS score, and over 21,600 plus users. So that's over the last 20 years. Our promise is simple. We're here for the long haul. Cavallo will support SalesPad for GP for at least the next 10 years. That's the commitment we've made, and longer for customers who will continue to rely on it and us, because our commitment isn't to a timeline, it's to the people and businesses who've built their success with us, and we want to make sure that we're going to be there to support them no matter what.
All right. With that, as I mentioned earlier, our agenda today is just some practical tips and time-saving tips and tricks in inventory, native GP inventory, followed by Cavallo Inventory Manager and some of its great functionality. So with that, we'll jump right in. Okay. Sorry, I'm trying not to cough here. I wanted to point out cards because a lot of people skip right through this, and it can be actually quite useful. So you have on your cards, you have item number, description, short description, and generic description. And most people skip these two, although short description is reportable. It's a selection in almost all of the reports. And generic description can also be used for slicing and dicing. So, for example, if I sell clothing, my item number might be Mariner's Trucker, and my description is a Mariner's Trucker hat. My short description is a ball cap, and my generic description is hat. And then I might have a Mariner's bucket hat, or I might have a Mariner's sun hat, but those would still fall under short description of bucket and generic description of hats. It's that way if I want to run inventory reports where I have a report of all of my hats, I don't have to search those out. They're all under the same generic description. If I wanted to do a short description search for all of my bucket hats, I could search for buckets or run reports based on buckets. And some of the reports in the system include profitability. So I could see if the bucket hats are profitable, because we know the trucker hats sell like crazy, but maybe the bucket hats aren't. So I just wanted to point that out because a lot of people just fill in kind of the top two. They let the short description default, and they don't gain the value of actually using short description and generic description. Another example, let's say I have a bunch of nuts and bolts, right? Or tubing. I could have a 3/4 inch copper tubing, and my short description might be copper, and my generic description might be tubing, or even copper tubing and then tubing, because that way I can say I want to get an inventory report of all my tubing, or I want to get rid of an inventory report of all my copper. So think of that in the same theory with nuts and bolts and screws, right? I could have Phillips head screws that's my short description, and screws is my generic description. So again, I could report on all my screws, all my nuts, and all my bolts. Most of the time you don't get that granular with things that small, but just examples of showing you how to get the advantage of that short description and generic description. Another thing that people miss is this item type, and your item types are inventory, discontinued, kit, miscellaneous charges, service fees, and flat fees. The ones that people miss are often discontinued. If we have an item that we no longer want to sell, but we still have some value in those inventory items, we can change that item type over to discontinued, and they will fall off of our reporting, and you won't be able to sell those items. Kits allow you to group multiple things together. So if every time I sell this pencil, I also need to sell with it an eraser and a pencil grip, then I can set up a kit to sell all three of those together. I like services. Miscellaneous charges is just exactly what it sounds like. You could use that to put a surcharge on something. You know, you can use it for kind of anything you want. I like services because services allows you to put in exactly that, services, that doesn't track quantities. So if I'm going to sell consulting time and I'm going to sell it in a quarter hour, and I want that consulting time to drive all of the accounts related to it, the right revenue accounts, the right cost of goods sold accounts, et cetera, then I can take advantage of all of inventory without actually having to track quantities by putting in an item type of service. And then again, flat fees are just that, but most people don't recognize that you can put in flat fees as well. Lastly, your valuation method. GP has multiple valuation methods. There's FIFO and LIFO perpetual, FIFO and LIFO periodic, and then average costing. So, you know, you probably set that up when you started. It's probably just fine. But there are differences between the perpetual and the periodic. And if you want to dig into that, you can, you know, shoot us an email and we'll answer that for you. But not everybody realizes that there's multiple valuation methods out there, options out there. So I just wanted to point that out. Okay, sites. A couple of things with sites. The biggest thing is that you can link it to a GL account number. So in the main inventory setup window, the item control setup window, you can choose which segment of your account you link this to. And the beauty of it is then as I sell from this site, it will actually override the accounting with the proper segment. So if I have a cost center for my North Regional site and I have a cost center, or maybe I've got something in Tulsa, something in Oklahoma City, and something in Dallas, and I actually want those to be coded to the appropriate GL accounts because those are cost centers that we're tracking profitability from. Your sites allow you to do that. So if you're not doing that, you should check with us on that because it is a great way to make sure that inventory costs and revenue roll appropriately based on where they're sold from. I also wanted to show a lot of people when they're setting up sites, they go into this assign button and they say, okay, we want this, and this assign button has a couple of slicer and dicer criteria in there. So I can say I want this item to be sold in, or I want in this site, I want to be able to sell these items. And I could do that by short description, generic description, some of those things we were just talking about. So if I only sell bucket hats in my North Regional, then I can use that as a criteria. But in addition to that, you have navigation lists. And one of the reasons I love navigation lists is because I can mass unassign a site. So what a lot of people do when they're setting up their inventory is they say, this new item, as I set up a new item, we say, I want this item available in all sites because that's the easiest way to propagate it out and make it available for use everywhere. But then you come back later and now you've got sites that have 100 items in it and we actually only sell 20 items from that site. This navigation list lets you quickly either assign or unassign. So just basic navigation list functionality lets me put in criteria in here. So if I wanted to go find all my bucket hats, or I wanted to go find all of the items that were assigned to North Regional, or whatever that is, I can put the criteria in here. And then by checking the box to select everything that meet that criteria, I could either assign or unassign a site really quickly from a big load of items. This is not site specific, but you can also inactivate items from here in mass. So I love the navigation list functionality here. If you're unaware of navigation lists, let me know and we can take a look at that. Also, if you've ever tried to use navigation lists and you get an error message, it's probably because your SSRS reports are not deployed, and there's two different ways we can remedy that error message. We can either deploy the SSRS reports or check a box in a setup window to tell it to not look for those reports. So if you've ever tried to use this functionality and errors, again, ping our support department because we can really quickly help you get to where you can use the navigation list. They really are quite beneficial. Okay, my favorite inquiry. So in the purchase receipts inquiry, I love this window because it actually shows all the ins and outs. So I can see where I brought 10 into stock as an inventory adjustment. I brought 10 more in as an inventory adjustment. And then I did a warehouse receipt for 11, and I can see where I sold them. And I can see where what the price that they went out at or that came in at, so depending on where this is an in or out. So it helps me do FIFO tracking, and I can drill back to all the source documents. So if I'm unsure what I've got and what's next in the list, so like on this example, I've got 10 in and there's 10 of those sold, so that cost layer is gone. 10 in and 10 sold, that cost layer is gone. So I would have to scroll down through here until I found something like this one where I've received some and none of them have been sold. So the next, if I'm a FIFO valuation method, my next inventory items are going out at this cost. So I love this inquiry. That's maybe me just being an accounting geek, but if you've not played with this inquiry, I highly recommend you go check it out. Okay, reconciles. It's common in inventory for your quantities to kind of get out of sync, especially if you're using purchase order and sales orders. So a lot of people will see that their inventory is out of sync. They go in and reconcile inventory, but it's best if you reconcile purchase orders and sales orders first, because if you reconcile purchase orders, it's going to go update all of your committed quantities or your quantities expected to come in, all of those quantities. Sales orders is often the one that causes a discrepancy in your inventory. So reconcile that one as well. You could do it for specific items if you need to. You could do it for everything. It's not a bad idea to run this quarterly. And I've made a note here that you may have to repeat. So I've actually seen it where we ran a reconcile purchase orders, sales orders, inventory. It fixed some of the things, but not all the things. But then we ran through a second time and it was able to clean up more stuff. Now, depending on how many items you have, this could take a while. So when I recommend running it quarterly, it might be that you want to run it on a range of items every quarter, run the top 100 items in the first quarter and the next 100 items in the second quarter and the next 100 items in the third quarter. But it's a really good way to clean up inventory, make sure your quantities are good. And running all three of them together is the best chance of success for that. I've also noted that you have a PSTL, so that is the Professional Service Tools Library. There is an inventory reconcile in there that runs a little differently. It's quicker. So if you're having issues you need to resolve quickly, you could go try and run that PSTL reconcile if you have access to it. Keep in mind that as you are doing these reconciles, you should have people out of the system because you don't want somebody entering and posting purchase orders or entering and posting sales orders or inventory transactions while you're trying to reconcile those quantities. So this is kind of a run on the weekend, kick everybody out, make a backup first kind of thing. All right, lastly, we're going to talk about stock counts. GP has the ability to do stock counts. A lot of people miss this. And you can do as many stock count schedules as you want. So what that means is instead of having to count everything all the time, you might want to do multiple schedules, and those stock counts can overlap. So it might be that I do an ABC analysis. So under routines, you have an items ABC analysis, and it'll go through and figure out what your most expensive items are and the ones that you sell the most, and it'll flag them as ABCs for you. You could then come in and set up a stock count schedule for your A items, your B items, your C items. And maybe you do A items in quarter 1, B items in quarter 2, and C items in quarter 3. Or maybe you do A items every quarter, B items every 6 months, and C items once a year. But any items that are in those stock counts can be included in other stock counts. So maybe my A items is, 500 items out of my 15,000 items. But I also, on a monthly basis, want to go count this particular set of items because we have high churn or high chance of loss on them. So you can include as many stock counts as you want. Stock count schedules. You can assign items one by one, or you can use this mass add down here, which has some criteria that will help you define those stock count schedules. And then once you get the schedules built, you can start a count. And I think my next slide is on that. Nope. Okay, so once you start a count, it freezes your inventory. So it looks at it at that moment and says, okay, based on purchase orders, sales orders, inventory activity, what is my quantity supposed to be right now? And you can print reports and go out and actually stock count, and then you can come into the stock count entry window and enter those counts. GP did add the ability to do an Excel import not too long ago. It's a little bit cumbersome, but you can export your count to Excel, count in Excel, and then import it back in. If you have a lot of people counting, that can be kind of problematic, but it does allow that functionality. And in the stock count entry window, there is a drill back so that you can see open sales orders and open purchase orders if you need to take those into account while you're counting. But with that, this is where I segue over to SalesPad, because SalesPad has their inventory manager product, which has handhelds which allow for stock counts and much, much more. So let me pass the presentation over to Michael.
Thank you.
You bet.
All right. Can everyone see my screen okay?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So a little bit about SalesPad Inventory Manager before we look at some slides here. Our product, SalesPad Inventory Manager, integrates fully with GP, and basically what it does is it brings a mobile component / feature in addition to what you could do in GP. And there are also enhancements, more configurations, more user-based security settings. You can really get specific with how you do fulfillment, receiving, site transfers, stock counts, etc. It's a full integration with GP to the extent where if something was open / locked in GP, let's say an order, and you were going to fulfill it from our SalesPad Inventory Manager app, our SalesPad Inventory Manager app application knows that that order's open in GP, and there's a lock on it. So it's fully integrated. They just work together, and SalesPad just brings some additional features, and obviously that mobile aspect here. I'm going to be showing some screenshots on these slides here as I go through them, but after the slides, I'm actually going to pull up Inventory Manager, our server, and our mobile app, so that you can see it in real time on the screen, in addition to the screenshots that are part of this slide here. So some of the major use cases for Inventory Manager mobile is sales order processing. So think fulfillment, picking, purchase order processing, think receiving inventory transactions, whether that be site transfers, bin transfers, inventory adjustments, general inventory management, lookups, and on the item level, bin level, site transfer level, seeing the data, seeing what quantity is available of any given item, what's been allocated, where it's allocated to, what's pending fulfillment. Similar on the PO receiving side, what open POs are there, and the expected receipt, creating the receipt. You can see there a mobile app. Our mobile apps for both Android and iOS. So a lot of our users have devices in their warehouse that allows the individuals in the warehouse who are handling receiving, fulfillment, general inventory management to have a handheld device with our mobile app downloaded to it, and allows them to work with a device right in their hand. We were just talking about stock counts. That's another big one. They can do a stock count right from our mobile device, start the stock count, go around, begin to do the actual physical count of the items, confirm everything from the mobile handheld. If there are any adjustments that need to be made while they do those stock counts, they can make them right there in the moment via the mobile app, submit the stock count when it's done, and any variations and adjustments that have happened. Again, at the end of the slideshow here, I'll be sharing some of that while I'm actually logged into it here, in addition to these screenshots though. But the screenshot you're seeing there is what you'd see from the mobile app if you were using it and had a mobile device in your hand. Here's the slide for Inventory Manager mobile stock counts. So this will see the GP stock counts if you've created them in GP, or there are options if you want to allow users to create a new count right from our mobile app. And again, as you look at these screenshots here, this is what the user interface is when they're using the device, whether it's a tablet or something a little more rugged like a barcode scanner running Android or iOS, or even a cell phone. Again, it's just an Android and iOS app, so it can be downloaded to any device. But they can do the stock count right from the mobile device using our app. Start the count, go around, do the physical count, make any adjustments, overwrite specific quantities based on their counts if there are any deviations, unfinished count warning. It'll show the previous count number. These are just some of the main settings. There are additional settings to this as well, but it's a nice tool to allow them to do this while they're walking through the warehouse, whether it's a certain part of the warehouse, or if it's split up into different aisles or zones between the warehouse, however you might have your stock counts set up, or if you're a small warehouse, maybe it's just the entire warehouse, but it allows them to do it just with a handheld device as they walk through the facility. Next up, we have picking assignments. This is a nice feature. If you have a lot of fulfillment that you do daily with your sales order processing side, people doing pulling product in the warehouse, maybe they're using a pick ticket and they're going to pull product for sales orders throughout the day. Maybe it's, depending on the volume, maybe it's 20 sales order a day, maybe it's hundreds. This is a feature that allows you to configure specific sales orders or groupings of sales orders and assign them to specific pickers based on their user IDs. So you'll get to see this, but maybe I'm picker Michael, my user ID is Michael. You can go in here and configure to have a group of sales orders assigned to me for that day to go pull the products, and then a different maybe group of sales orders to another picker or warehouse individual, and it designates everything nicely, and they have their tasks and their orders that they need to pull and fulfill for that day or that week. So you can get really into the specifics here on how you want and whom do you want to fulfill orders on a daily basis, how much volume they should be dealing with, etc. And you'll get a chance to see some of that here at the end. Picking assignments. Here's the actual screenshot of it. Again, I'll be sharing the physical actual screen here at the end. Batch picking. This is exactly probably what it sounds like to you. So it allows you to take a group of sales orders, whether it's tens or hundreds, and assign them to a specific batch. So in this screenshot here, that's batch number 6. But you can say there are 25 sales orders assigned to batch 6 here, and those are all then grouped within that batch. And additionally, you can take it a step further and assign them to a specific user, as I mentioned. But this will, instead of doing it by sales order, individual sales order, this allows them to pick the product by batch. The sales orders are all grouped under that batch number, and to the picker, they're just going through it, pulling the items. It's showing them the sales order IDs and the information relative to the item. As you can see there, they can fulfill the quantity. If you are in a multi-bin environment, you can pull it out of the specific bin to fulfill it, and have all the views of the bins and the available quantities within the bins. As you can see there in the suggested item, this example, that item happens to be in several different bins there, so it's showing you that information there, showing you whether it's serial track or not. It's obviously not. There are settings to automate this process a little more as well. It can be manual, where there simply interfacing with the touch screen to do all this on the handheld device. Or if you have a barcoded system there with item barcoding, bin barcoding, even ticket barcoding, scanning works as well, and they can simply scan the items, and it populates the data into the fields here from our mobile app and tells them how many they need to pick. You can have it increment by scan. Some people do that for some of their items, meaning they want to make sure a scan happens for each item that is picked, because they have a barcoded system in place for all their items, and then they actually scan. If they pull 3 of one item and there's a quantity of 3, they have to scan it 3 times to increase the quantity. If that doesn't apply, then it could just default to the quantity, or they can manually manipulate anything via the touchscreen as well. It kind of just depends on how your warehouse and your process is set up, but we can accommodate pretty much any scenario there. Again, there's the batch picking assignment screen, which you'll get a chance to see. Directed picking. This is a very specific feature that essentially allows you to prioritize the picking assignments based on specific parameters. So if you had a parameter where the requested ship date was within, the next day or less, and then it gets prioritized, sometimes we make or use a user field where something's marked or flagged as a rush. Maybe something in the note is flagged as rush on the order. It actually allows you to pick a specific parameter, and then anytime those parameters happen to come up, it'll automatically recognize it and prioritize the order of the pick sequence, and someone doesn't have to manually look at it. They know that on their list of what needs to be picked that day, if there are any orders that met those specific parameters, they're at the top of the list to be fulfilled / shipped out that day. Zone picking, pretty straightforward here. Again, this is relative to your warehouse setup, but some people do have specific zones. So you may have, aisle 1 or A, and aisle A, B, and C fall under zone 1, and aisles D, E, and F fall under zone 2. You can do it by that level as well, if that applies. Just another kind of layer in organizing and assigning how which pickers need to pick what orders that day, and in which specific part of the warehouse they may be assigned to that they work that day. Okay, I am going to go into the demo now here. So I'm just going to minimize this. And can someone confirm that they can now see Inventory Manager?
I muted myself because I was coughing. Sorry. Yes, I can see your Inventory Manager.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for confirming. So we're on the batch picking assignment tab. We're logged into this isn't Inventory Manager mobile yet. This is just where all the setup happens in our Inventory Manager software, which basically drives everything to the mobile app and what users see and what their interface is and what they're directed to pick or receive, etc. So we just want to open up batch picking here again. I happen to have a designated sales batch where I'm looking for any orders that are in this specific batch. Those are the ones that are ready to be fulfilled, but you got plenty of other filtering items here. So if I just do a general search, I only have a handful of orders set up for demo purposes here, but obviously on a daily basis, you all may have tens or hundreds, and they'd be in this list here. And what this does is it allows me to simply look and select either all, or cherry pick ones, depending on how you're looking at the year. Maybe you're sorting it by, requested ship date, newest to oldest, but it allows you to select all your orders or a portion of the orders from the list and assign them to a specific batch. Once that happens, all those orders are grouped into one single batch number, and then the picker, when they go under our mobile software, they'll go under batch pick and pull the batch number up, and that already includes all the orders that were lumped into that batch, and they're not doing them individually. They're just doing the picking as a group at that time. And you'll get a chance to see that here from the mobile app as well. Picking assignments, we did look at a slide on this. This is where we talked about actually assigning specific users to a particular group or zone. So you can see here, I just happen to have Group A. This may be a different, different reference in your warehouse, obviously, or zone. And I have one user assigned to it for demo purposes here. It's myself, my user ID, and I'm assigned as a picker. So as a picker to Group A and Zone 1. And once this is set up this way, these are other users under it. But once this is set up this way, you can assign individuals in the warehouse to specific areas, and then any orders, fulfillment orders that fall under these groups, that's what they're fulfilling throughout the day. So there isn't any guessing or pulling pick tickets and trying to organize who's doing what that day. That is done from here in the setup, and then those orders simply go in that picking configuration. And to the user, they're just using the mobile app and everything done for them because of the setup behind the scenes here, as we see in the picking assignments screen. Direct picking configuration. So this is where we talked about the ability to prioritize and set specific parameters. Maybe again, based on a field on the order, a note, a specific date, a customer ID even, you can prioritize by customers. So here we can see, I simply have a user field, and this user field is on my orders, and it's basically a true-false field. If someone marks something as true, that it's a rush, I'm using that as the priority field for anything that needs fulfillment that is sitting in this ready to pick batch. This will be moved to the top. And you can see here, you can drill down a little further into what you want to automate. I'm doing this off a sales document. You can also prioritize bins if you're in a multi-bin environment. You can prioritize specific serial numbers that should be fulfilled first, and lot numbers as well. So you got several different options here to prioritize orders based on, again, maybe a specific parameter, whether it's a field, a specific value in a field, a date, a bin, serial numbers, etc. I'm going to bring up the mobile app now here for you. Let me just sign into this. So what you're seeing here is what a user would see if they had the mobile device in front of them. This is an emulator. It's projecting on the screen to share. But if you had a tablet or a barcode scanner running Android or iOS in the warehouse, or a cell phone, this is what they would see when they're logged into our mobile app on the home screen here. Anything that it's completely configurable. If there are certain features you're not using, we would simply hide them, and they wouldn't see that on the screen. You can also do that on a user level. Maybe you have some users that are doing picking, and different users, or a user that does all the PO receiving. We can adjust what they see and what they can do when they log into the app down to that level based on what their daily job responsibilities are and the activities they perform. I have several turned on for demonstration purposes here. So batch picking, stock counts, lookups, receiving, etc. But this is all customizable, and the users will only see what they need to see on the app. So if I just click in picking here, this will come up. Give it a second. It's a little slow. I apologize. Sometimes this emulator that's projecting from the mobile app can be a little finicky here. Let's try that again.
Wouldn't be a good demo without a nice pregnant pause.
Yeah. Right. Tell you what, I'm just going to close this and reopen it up. It was sitting there throughout the initial parts of the presentation, so maybe I just needed to log out of it and log back in. So I'm dragging this back over. Hopefully you can see it. Can you confirm you can see it?
Yes.
Okay. So batch picking. Here's what we talk about: grouping everything into a batch, and then all the sales orders are under that batch, whether it's 10 or 50, and then the picker simply comes in and they pick the batch ID, not the sales order, because the sales orders are already included under this batch ID. So we can see sales docs. There's 2 of them included under this specific batch ID. But imagine if there's 15, 20, 50, whatever assigned to a batch ID, they'd all be listed here. In the picker, they don't have to necessarily do them individually and worry about that. They're already included in here, and it's simply going to prompt them to go pull the items, and they're not necessarily working off individual sales orders themselves. The other nice part about doing this is, for those of you who maybe print pick tickets for each order or a picking doc, that a physical copy that is used in the warehouse as they go to pull products. If you got lots of orders, that's a lot of different pick tickets and printing. This kind of, again, organizes it under one batch ID. And you could still print a bulk ticket if you wanted to still have the hard copy, but technically they don't need it. They can work right off of the mobile app here and not have to print out pick tickets. Stock counts, we talked about this a little bit. As I said, you can create counts right from here, and it'll see the counts that you created in GP if you have existing ones, and it'll simply you start the count, and it'll prompt you to confirm the physical quantities of the items. If you do use reason codes when you make adjustments, you can use that here. Not everyone uses that in GP, so if you don't, just disregard that. But they'd be walking around right now with the handheld device and doing the stock count right from the handheld device. Inventory lookups, pretty straightforward here. If there was a specific item, they could just type it in using the touch screen. If it was a barcoded item, they could simply scan it and it would populate. If I just do a general search here, I get the whole list of my active inventory items. But let's just pull one here, for example. So this is showing me what I have on hand, what's allocated, what's available, what's on order, what's pending receipt. So they get a lot of information right from their handheld device, whether it's a cell phone or a tablet or something like that. Site transfers, inventory adjustments, again, all things that if you're familiar with in GP, a lot of the functionality, the fields and tables are the same. We're just bringing a mobile component to it and enhancing those features and letting users have mobility throughout the warehouse by having a mobile device and being able to do this work without having to sit at their desktop computer or their laptop and do it from there. Someone, you know, working a dock who's got a truck that's there and they're delivering product, you know, they have the handheld right in their hand right now, and this is what they're seeing. They could scan a PO, they could look up the PO, and then it'll begin to prompt them and show them what items are on that PO, how much they should be receiving in. If you can do a partial receipt if something is missing, all the stuff you would expect to be able to do, but from a mobile handheld device. Wendy, I'm not sure if there are any questions, but I'm pretty much done here, so I'll pause, and I'm happy to answer any questions if anyone's raised their hand.
Don't see any questions or chats coming in yet, but let me just unmute everybody.
Okay.
And feel free to ask any questions. Again, you can put them in the question box, you can put them in the chat box, or at this point in time, you can unmute yourself and just ask them outright. Anybody have any questions for us? And Michael, while we're waiting, if you could toggle back over to the slide deck, I think you have one more kind of summary slide, and then we have our contact information.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, you should be seeing it again now.
Yes.
Okay.
So again, just a couple of final notes. I mean, we showed you GP tips and tricks. If there's any of those you want further information on, you can email support@njevity.com. And then for the SalesPad, all of the pieces can be used individually or together. And you know, batch picking, directed picking, all of those is included in the inventory manager, as well as the mobile device functionality. So one more slide, and that'll just be our contact information. Oh, shoot, that's supposed to have Michael's on there as well. So that's my contact information. I guess I missed updating that slide. But
Okay.
if you have any questions about the Cavallo stuff, you can email me directly, and I could definitely connect you with the Cavallo folks and help you get that sorted out. And if you had any questions about the GP stuff, again, support@njevity.com. And with that, I still see no questions coming in. I see no chats happening. So we must have done a phenomenal job, Michael. And we will end this out and let everybody have 10 minutes of their day back.
Yeah, thank you for your time. I'm always here at the office. If anyone would like a more in-depth demonstration, maybe more specific to your current setup, just reach out to us. I'm happy to do it. And if for some reason I'm not here, we have two other team members here as well. But we're all happy to help if you have any questions or want to see anything more.
Thank you very much. This was great.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, you guys have a great day. Oh, wait, maybe there's a question coming in. Oh, just a thank you. Okay. All right, we're glad you guys enjoyed it, and join us for our next webinar.
Take care, everybody.
Thanks and bye.